the genius who turned into one of America's most wanted terrorists, a figure who transcended the news to inspire movies and television series. And despite his violent and cruel acts, he attracted many supporters around the world, a disturbing story that oscillates between genius and madness, highlighting how easily the human mind can stray into extremism. After all, how does a brilliant mathematician become a terrorist? What were the motivations behind his radicalism? And above all, was the Unabomber right?
The man the government believes to be the Unabomber.
Almost as much money was spent on the Unabomber investigation as on all serial killer investigations combined. He's very important.
When Ted Kaczynski was found in his small cabin in 1996 and sentenced to life in prison without parole, it marked the end of what was the longest and most expensive manhunt in United States history.
Kaczynski's campaign of fear finally came to an end.
For 18 years, Kaczynski spread terror across the country by anonymously sending bombs through the mail. His main targets were universities and airlines, institutions that to him symbolized technological progress. Without knowing who was behind the attacks, the FBI adopted the codename Unabomber, a name by which he would be known to this day. Ted was so careful in his attacks that the FBI couldn't find many clues. The only visual identification they had was a sketch made from the account of a witness who had seen him.
He was different from any bomber we had ever seen.
I'm most intrigued that Ted Kaczynski wasn't an ordinary terrorist. He was a genius intellectually. With an intelligence quotient of 167, he surpassed brilliant minds like Albert Einstein and Stephen Hawking.
Since childhood, I realized that my brother was special.
His brilliance was such that he skipped 2 grades in school, and later he entered the renowned Harvard University at just 16 years old. After graduating, he pursued an academic career and became the youngest mathematics professor in the history of the University of Berkeley. But even though he was surrounded by all the prestige and recognition, he always seemed a bit out of place compared to others. After 2 years as a professor, he abandoned his career in society to live completely isolated in a small cabin in Montana, deep in the forest. He was seeking a simple life. In his cabin, he didn't even have electricity or running water. He wanted to escape the technological world and the passive, comfortable city life he deeply despised.
You can't live as a free person while being a member of a larger scale system. There is another way to live. You don't have to live the way we do in this system.
His first years in Montana were peaceful.
He was very happy when he moved to the forest. He wrote enthusiastically about how beautiful it was.
But suddenly, tractors, construction, and airplanes started to appear in the area. It was modernity invading and tormenting his refuge.
He finds out that he can't escape society even from there. The society he's fleeing still catches up to him, leaving him powerless. So he fights back.
He became enraged. He started sabotaging the region's projects and enterprises with fires and forest traps. Convinced that technology was degrading the essence of humanity, he decided that he had to intervene somehow.
He had taught himself how to make bombs. He was a brilliant criminal, as he was able to expertly eliminate anything that could identify him, any hair, fiber, or fingerprint.
It was the beginning of his deadly crusade against modern progress.
A terrorist named Unabomber is planning to blow up a commercial airplane sometime in the next 6 days.
He targets airlines, scientists, computers, people.
In total, 17 bombs were sent, 3 deaths and 23 people injured. Luckily, those numbers aren't even worse, since in one of his most notorious attacks, the bomb placed on an American Airlines commercial flight failed, sparing the lives of the 78 people on board.
The Unabomber tried to blow up a plane.
Kaczynski said that his attacks were a way to draw the world's attention. so that he could spread his message about how technology was destabilizing society, making life unsatisfying, and causing widespread psychological suffering.
His purpose was to awaken people to the dangers of technology.
He outlined these ideas in his manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future. At the time, he managed to convince the major newspapers to publish his manifesto. In exchange, he promised to stop the attacks.
Everything was there today, all 35,000 words of the Unabomber's message to the United States.
Ironically, it was this very publication that exposed him, since his brother David recognized Ted's writing style and reported him to the FBI.
It wouldn't be right to let him hurt anyone else. He needed to be stopped somehow, and this was the only way to stop him.
Kaczynski remained in prison for life. In June 2023, at the age of 81, he was found dead in his cell.
Kaczynski, the terrorist known as the Unabomber, died by suicide, according to local media and the New York Times.
But the strange commotion on the internet over his death is proof that his story and legacy are far from over.
More people have died by suicide while we've talked than I allegedly killed in my whole career.
More people have died due to antidepressants, plastic surgeries, and fast food.
Why is everyone so afraid of me? Why are these men in suits so desperate to prove that I'm crazy? It's because they know I'm right. I'm awake, they're asleep, and they're terrified. Maybe they need to wake up too. Turn off their cell phones, their TVs, and their video games and face themselves.
If you can separate the author from his work for a brief moment, you can see how much of what Kaczynski wrote actually seems quite coherent. His manifesto clearly shows his intellectual genius with a direct, objective narrative and no marketing tricks. After all, it wasn't made to be sold. The text already begins with the sentence, "The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. A disaster that created a technological system dependent on a social, economic, and political order that ends up suffocating the most important aspect of our existence, which is individual freedom." He also writes, "The system does not exist and cannot exist to satisfy human needs. On the contrary, it is human behavior that needs to be modified to fit the needs of the system." According to him, we are trapped in a sick system that makes people take medication to tolerate conditions that they would naturally consider intolerable.
Can you please medicate me with something?
No! You need a natural and healthy sleep.
Hey, please, I'm in pain.
The increase in depression rates that we see happening in the world today is something that Ted predicted as a reflection of the increasingly technological environment we live in, where the solution offered by the system is a pill that makes you accept the unacceptable. Work longer and extract more value for the system itself, which is not only the inventor of this solution, but also the cause of the whole problem.
Man is being controlled by his own inventions, that he is now a victim of his own technology and his own applied science instead of controlling it.
Technology has reconfigured the social structure, creating barriers to our process of personal affirmation, a process that, according to him, is essential in the life of every human being, and it is nothing more than the achievement of real goals that require effort, thus combating low self-esteem and depression. But people are avoiding this path and turning to what he decided to call substitute activities, which are activities guided by artificial goals. They're distractions. And although they seem to relieve the tension, they don't help at all with your real purpose in this life. Examples of this are excessive consumption of cheap entertainment, political activism, and extreme following of sports teams.
But I think now this could be done even more effectively, because you can offer them bread and circuses, and you can offer them an infinite amount of distractions and propaganda.
Ted argued that the system uses these surrogate activities to make society docile and harmless, and that technology is an essential tool in this process of control, leaving individuals so shaped by the norms that they lose their autonomy of thought, so immersed and programmed for obedience that they feel anxiety or guilt when they step out of conformity.
I mean, no one. I sat there waiting, and there were no cars anywhere. But even so, I kept standing still. That's when I realized it's not about technology. It's about what they're doing to us.
The great irony is that as much as technology allows for an expansion of individualism, we don't realize that deep down, it actually standardizes our interests, creating an illusion of uniqueness while steering us toward uniformity of thought and consumption.
Advertising must pursue cars and clothes. We work jobs we hate and buy unnecessary things.
Kaczynski concluded that the ecosystem generated by technological advancement, including governments, corporations, and bureaucratic structures, although created to promote social well-being, is actually limiting authentic individual expression.
Ted was concerned and more experienced than I was regarding the impact of corporations and the government on the environment and on us.
Ted Kaczynski's manifesto, although brilliant, does not reveal a hero, but an extremist, a fanatic consumed by his hatred and anger toward the world.
Ted had just come home from school. I had some ideas and couldn't wait to share them with my older brother. But it seemed like, wow, he was being really dismissive of my ideas. And he said, you know, Dave, really smart people have a sadistic side.
A dark side that found fertile ground at Harvard, where he took part in a cruel psychological experiment that he once described as the worst experience of my life. A secret and illegal project led by a former colonel linked to the SS, which aimed to explore the emotional manipulation of brilliant minds, subjecting Kaczynski to intense psychological pressure for 3 years.
The behavior of rejecting and belittling my ideas. That's what he encountered at Harvard when people treated him with dominance whenever he expressed his philosophy of life.
It was there that Kaczynski forged his anti-technology ideology.
My last year at Harvard in 1962 was when I decided that I was against technology.
In his personal life, he suffered a lot because of his antisocial behavior and the strong rejection he faced, especially from women. It is believed that he was an incel and that he never had any kind of relationship. Each of these episodes certainly fueled his fantasies of revenge due to the strong resentment he had against society, its institutions, and its technology. And here is a key point, because although he tried to justify his violent acts as a way to spread his message, it is clear that his deep discontent served as motivation for a sadistic revenge against the world that rejected him.
Do you believe that the manifesto is actually the real motivation here, his complaints about technology, or is the motivation something else?
What really bothered him was that he didn't fit in.
In his journey, Kaczynski chose the path of hatred and fanaticism, a choice guided by a misguided search for meaning and inner fulfillment. This is a very common trap, especially among young people who cling to ideologies or radical practices as a means of self-affirmation. It's a trend that has been gaining strength in today's polarized world, where extremist movements have increasingly drawn more people down this path of hatred.
There's a lot of resentment from the guys who say that. This kind of expression can be understood as a reaction from more insecure guys. And then they make a similar argument that women will unite against men, and in this way they'll become powerful and won't be divided. This mainly works with young girls.
These people and Ted Kaczynski mistakenly believe that channeling their energy into hatred and destruction will give their lives purpose. But the truth is that hatred only makes you a prisoner of your own thoughts.
Hatred is a burden. Life is too short to be angry all the time. It's not worth it.
Maybe it was this heavy burden that led Kaczynski to blame society and technology for all his personal dissatisfaction. A resentment that made him obsessed with negativity. He believed that the system had not yet taken full control over human behavior, but was in the midst of a struggle to gain that control. According to his prediction, within the next 10 to 70 years, either the system will gain that control or it will collapse. We don't know if he is actually right, but I see his perspective as similar to what George Orwell described in his fiction 1984, where society is suffocated by a totalitarian regime through constant surveillance and psychological manipulation.
Something like 1984 could happen. That's the direction the world is heading right now. There will be no emotions except fear, anger, and personal humiliation.
Although we have some similarities nowadays, including regimes that seem to resemble Orwell's dystopian society, I believe that in general we are closer to Aldous Huxley's vision in Brave New World, where it's not just censorship, but mainly the excessive distractions and information that threatens our autonomy. A world not of scarcity, but of abundance, where truth drowns in irrelevance. Culture becomes trivial and is dominated by superficial pleasures.